Good afternoon, class. I hope you all are doing well. And today we are going to continue our discussion on the topic the Indian Constitution, that is your chapter 1 of civics, presented by your social science teacher Bhanu Marwaha. Students, till now in this chapter we are discussing about that what is the meaning of the constitution, why we need the constitution, what is the relation between a country and its constitution, how the constitution define the key features of a country. Then we discuss about what are the different steps that were taken in the formation of Indian constitution, how Indian constitution came into the existence, how the constitution assembly was formed, number of members in that constitution assembly, who was the father of Indian constitution. That are the some points that we already discussed in this chapter. And today in this chapter we are going to start our discussion with the topic state and government. Yes, students, the state and government. In this chapter we also discuss about the meaning of state and government. The state is a political institution that represents a sovereign people. Sovereign people who are having the complete freedom to make their own rules and regulations, who occupy a defined territory like Indian state. We are the people of India who are living under a defined territory of India. So we are living in an Indian state. In the same sense, the people who lived in Nepal, the Nepal is known as Nepali state. So this is the meaning of state. Now we talk about the government. What is the meaning of government? We all are living in a democratic country. What is the meaning of this democratic country? A democratic country where the people going to govern themselves, but they're going to govern themselves with the help of the different leaders which they are going to choose for themselves. Now those leaders are also going to make some rules and policies for the people which are going to choose them, and that's how we are going to govern ourselves. So in all that process, when we are going to choose the leaders and they are going to make some rules, regulations and policies for us, the leaders are there for the purpose of administration, for the execution of those laws, for the enforcement of those laws. So the persons who make the laws, rules and regulations, who execute those rules and regulations by make it possible to execute the same by the general public, that are known as government. This is known as government. And here we can say that the state and the government are totally two different things, two different terms which cannot be used interchangeably. Clear, students? Now we move towards our next topic, and our next topic is what are the key features of federalism. Federalism, when we talk about, we are making our own rules and regulations. So what kind of freedom is there and what is the process of that? So in a large country like India, we divide our government, which we talked earlier, the meaning of government. We divide that government into the three different levels: the central level, the state level, and the Panchayati Raj at the village level. And with that, the government of states also enjoys some kind of autonomy. Autonomy means they can take their own decisions. Whatever good or bad for the state government can take this decision by their own. Yes, they can take whatever the decision for the state which is for the well-being of that state, but that decisions must not hurt the provisions that were written in the constitution, that must not go against the national concern, except that the constitution lists the issues that each tier of government can make laws, and what kind of the authority given to the each tier of government at the different levels, what kind of authority we can give to the central level, state level, and to the panchayati raj. And what for the authority, they are going to do some work, and for doing any kind of work, we students, we know that we need money. So for the state, the central, and the panchayat, they required money for doing their authorized work. And from where they can get that money, that is also written in our constitution. What is the parliamentary form of government? That is the next topic. So parliamentary form of government, and there is also one another form of government which prevails in the world, and that is known as the presidential form of government. Yes, that prevails in the USA. What is that presidential form of government and parliamentary form of government? Listen students, listen carefully. Under the presidential form of government, the president is going to be the head of the country, and all the main decisions of the country is going to be took over by the president, right? Like that happened in the USA. But in the presidential form of government, the prime minister is known as the head of the country. Head of the country in the sense that the main decisions, rules, and regulations of the country has to be decided by the prime minister, and the president is known as the first person of the country. He is also having some authorities, but the main authorities, main powers are lie in the hand of prime minister, who actually going to lead the people by the who is actually the leader of the majority party, and that party which going to lead the country is going to be again chosen by the people. So we are also having the parliamentary form of government, and in this parliamentary form of government, some rights were given to the citizen, and the first right which is given to the Indian citizen is universal adult suffrage. Under this right, it helps us to encourage the democratic mindset and break the clutches of traditional caste, class, and gender bias. Because as we earlier discussed in the chapter, the makers of constitution, they kept one thing in their mind, that in the free India everyone should be equal, and before that there is no authority given to the women's or to the economically poor section of the society to choose the government for themselves. Students, note down that in the earlier time in the British India, uh, only the people who were paying the taxes, only they are supposed to vote. But after the constitution came into existence, the power is given to the each adult of our country to choose a government for herself, right? So earlier no authority was there with the women's and the economically poor section of the society, but later on, either the person is poor, rich, either the person is male or female or belongs to any caste, creed, or religion, every adult in our country has given the authority to vote and to select or to choose a government for ourselves. So this is something we known as by universal adult franchisee. And also everyone, and whatever is their background, what kind of a religion they belongs to, they can contest in the elections. A contest means if you want to be a leader, if you want to serve your people or serve your nation, then you can also contest the election. There are some rules and regulations for that, but that doesn't include what is your caste, creed, religion, region, or background. Anyone from any field in our country can contest in the election, and there is representative. What the person who want to contest the election has to be accountable for the people only. Next topic is about the separation of powers. As we discussed in the government system, there is a three-tier system: the central, state, and Panchayati Raj. And but they must not interfere in each and other works. That's why there is separation of power that is done in our constitution. How that separation of power is done? Students, as we know that there are three main departments of the government, three main organs of the government, which were known by the name of the legislature, executive, and judiciary. In the first part, that is legislature, there are the people who are making the rules, regulations. There are representatives who were chosen by the people who make rules, regulations, law, and different provisions for the common people. So they were known as legislature. Next part is executive. In the legislature part, let us take an example. The government make a law that the Aadhaar card is going to be compulsory for each and every citizen of India. That law is going to be made out by the government. Now, it is not the government or the government official, those who go from person to person and make their Aadhaar cards. It is quite not possible for them, right? So they give that authority to different people, to a team of people who are going from person to person, or who are having the authority to make the Aadhaar card for each and every citizen of India. So the person who actually execute those rules, regulations, or law which were made out by the legislature, those executors were known as executive branch of executive organ of the government. Legislature and executive. Now suppose while making that Aadhaar card or some other orders which were given by the government, that person makes some crime or some criminal impact that person has created, then who punished that person? Who is having that authority? If the person is not able to obey the orders which were given by the government, then who is going to punish that person? Yes, that person is going to punished by the courts of India. The different courts of India at different levels, those were known by the name of judiciary. So we are having legislature, executive to execute the laws, and judiciary. If anyone not follow the law and the provisions, there is courts of India who decide the offense of that person. And there are different laws, different courts of our country known by the name of Supreme Court, High Court, or District Court. Now these each organ of the government, they are independent from each other. They are not supposed to depend upon each other. They are having their own authorities and own responsibilities also. But they're gonna check on each other. Whatever the work done by the legislature is going to be checked by the judiciary or the executive. The work of executive in the same manner is going to be checked out by the legislature and judiciary. So they're gonna check on each other work, but doesn't interfere in the work of each and another. And this showed the balance of power between all three organs of the government. And this is our topic about the separation of powers. Let's move toward our next topic, and that are the fundamental rights. In the earlier part of that chapter, we already discussed about that there are 6 fundamental rights which are given by the Indian Constitution